Hey guys, how's it going? Lee here. I hope everybody's been doing well in this current pandemic and is keeping their social distancing away from each other. On a serious note though, I hope you haven't been too heavily affected during this job loss period and that you've still got a stable form of income, and if you haven't, that you have been able to access the government schemes and assistance that I know are rolling out quite slowly. Now, given this is a tough time for everybody, I wanted to take this opportunity to make a video that's not just about stock analysis, because there's far more worse things that we should be concerned about than just analyzing some stock. During these times of struggle, what I generally find that is really comforting for myself and everybody else around me is a reminder of, not to worry about the factors that we can't control, but look at the things that we can control at both the private and the professional level. Now, when we're looking at factors such as lockdowns, the extreme demand for toilet paper, or the fall of certain businesses, these are factors that are outside of our control and that we shouldn't really ponder too much of our time about or give too much of our attention to. So I'm going to go through a list of 3 factors that we can control within our life that's going to help us get through these tough times and best prepare you to make it out on the other side. Now, before I do so, it'd be great if you could hit the like button for me, because it really does help out the channel and promotes this video so other people can see it as well. So the first thing that we can control is tightening our spending belt. With businesses taking a hit to their revenue, people are fighting for job security. And if this is you or someone that you know, it's time to tighten that spending belt and make sure you save every dollar that you have. Although this may be hard for many people, I challenge you to do the following. To look at your monthly expenses in the previous month and see if you can trim out any of the fat or the things in your lifestyle that you really don't need. And if you need an example of this, I'll link my video up there, which you can check out about my weekly expenses. But on the top of the list, and the first one I want to go through, is accommodation. Now, generally, the biggest expense people have within their lives is their accommodation. This is unless you're living at home with your parents or have house hacked and no longer are paying rent. For my partner and I, we live in a 3-bedroom house, and the cost of rent is split amongst 3 people because we share it with another housemate. So the rent for myself and for each of us is about $100 each. And by no means is it lavish at all, but I do sleep very well at night knowing that there's a roof over my head with very little out of pocket. Now, another thing that works within our favor is that we live in a duplex. So because we do live in a duplex and each place is not individually metered, we don't have to pay for water because they're not, splitly built and built together. Now, I will say one thing, we are very lucky to be living in Brisbane, Queensland, where housing is a little bit cheaper. But no matter where you live, this should not discourage you from looking at alternative forms of housing to reduce your cost of accommodation. Now, some solutions to this might be that you move back home with your parents or ask family and friends if they have a spare room so that you can pay cheap rent and take advantage of the shared housing situation for the time being. And if you currently have a place, find a housemate and make a bad situation for somebody else a win-win scenario for both of you. Now, this is a win-win scenario because you're helping somebody who's in a bad situation have cheap accommodation, and in return, you're either reducing your rent costs or your cost on your mortgage. Now, although this might seem like a drastic change and a pain in the ass to action, well, it is actually both of them, but if you can reduce the largest expense you have, you're already putting yourself in the best position to be saving the most amount of money post-tax. Aside from the savings, moving into a smaller area also allows you to look at the things that you really need and really want to keep. Generally, when we're in a nice area with lots of space, we try to find stuff to put in those spaces, and then it generally becomes us hoarding a lot of things. And now when you do find stuff that you don't generally use and have not used in the past, I would be looking to see if any of them still have value, because some of these things you can sell off on eBay, Gumtree, or any other platform to make some money from it, because I know times are tough, but people are still buying things at the moment. So don't be so quickly to throw out your YuGiOh cards, your old headsets, or your keyboards, because they might still have some value in them. So if you're able to make this move, do so, because the way I see it, not only will you save money and declutter your life, but the money you will save can go towards purchasing more shares, or alternatively, boosting your emergencies funds during these uncertain times. But let's say you look at the cost, right, and you realize, actually, I'm only saving about $50 or so a week. Now just think about it, that $50, how many shares can it go into buying into certain companies? And if you multiply that by 52, because there's 52 weeks within a year, how many shares are you then purchasing, and how quickly are you going to bolster your position within those specific companies? Now, the second biggest expense people have within their lives is food. Now, you're either gonna go one or the other way about this. You're either gonna go and order Uber Eats, Deliveroo, and all that type of stuff, which, by the way, there's like free delivery for a lot of these apps. Just make sure you find the right promo code, so do not be paying for delivery or anything like that. Alternatively, many of us are going to take this time to learn how to cook, right? And learn how to cook. And if you've looked at my videos previously, I've made meals for $2, $2.40. Once you buy things in bulk, learn how to cook very simple meals that are also nutritious. It can save you a lot of money, and you're actually controlling what you put within your body as well, which is also a bonus because health is wealth, right? Now, whilst I'm not the best cook, I don't think cooking is hard. The biggest deterrence for people, I believe, is the fact that, well, you've got to prepare for it, you've got to buy things, you've got to think about things to cook, because, if you eat the same things over and over and over again, it gets quite repetitive and boring also. And so I think a really good way to work around this is to find things that you generally like eating and just eat that as much as you possibly can, assuming it's cost effective, of course, throughout the week. So then you're saving money along the way. Now for me, I'm pretty easy, and generally I've just been eating a lot of eggs, spam, rice, and kimchi, which then covers my carbs, proteins, and fats, all within a small cost-effective meal. I think also another issue that a lot of people have, especially during this time where there are a lot of options for eat, is that we've become so accustomed to a certain eating experience. When the times are good, it's okay to pay a little extra because it tastes just a little bit better. It's okay to pay just a little bit extra because the scenery and the views and the way that you get treated is that little bit. And it's really interesting for me to see because the amount that you pay extra doesn't really correlate with the value, the experience, and the taste that you're getting in return. So I highly encourage you, if you haven't already, to figure out the things that you like to eat and learn how to cook that. Because during this time when we're working from home, there's no time in terms of commute to and from work. We should really be spending this time to better ourselves within the kitchen. And these things that we learned during this time is gonna just, pay dividends. Okay, number 2, save and invest, the difference. In this scenario, I don't really think it should be save and invest. It should be save or invest, because it really depends on your situation and where you're currently at with your financial position. Say if you're in a position where you're looking to stash some cash away, I would highly recommend that you first make sure all the excess stuff within your life is gone so that we have more capital to work with, and then put your money into a high yield savings account, which isn't really high yielding anymore. But anyway, regardless of how low the yields are going, it is still much more beneficial that you have a look around and search for the best high yield savings account, because we still want the best return on our money. And given an inflation is going to be a thing with all this money being pumped into the economy, you really want to maximize the amount of money that you're getting within your return just with the cash that you have sitting on the side. Now, given the differences between the banks are small, I don't think it's worth going through a list, but a good one at the moment is the Suncorp Growth Saver account at 2%. I personally don't use Suncorp, so I can't vouch for the interface or customer service, but compiling a list of the best savings accounts during this time would be a video on its own that I'd probably put together next week or the following week afterwards, maybe. Let me know if you're interested down below. Now, once you have an amount you're comfortable with, or if you already have that amount, it's time to invest the rest, because earning 2% within a savings account isn't really going to do us much at all when this inflation starts to hit us. Now, obviously, the style of investing that you want to partake is totally up to you, whether you want to take a more safer route given the whole riskiness of the economy collapse. You might want to go and head towards ETFs. I would not be touching bonds or gold. That's just my personal opinion, not financial advice, so please make your own financial decisions. Or alternatively, you can now look at individual companies and see them all at a massive discounted price, in which you can enter in now, hold in the long run, and profit really well. So yes, number 2, save or bolster your emergency account at the moment, and also learn how to invest and take action during this time when things are on sale. During these times we're facing now with people losing their jobs, and if you're someone who is unsure about their employment future or already hates their job, then I highly recommend that you use this time to look at your career and whether this is something you'd like to upskill in or change entirely. It's important for everybody to realize that there will be innovations that come out of this pandemic in the way that we work, interact, travel, and clean ourselves. During this period, there will be a large leveraging of technology to allow people to still connect, and it's during these times that businesses and specific industries learn to adapt and be more efficient. That may lead to the loss of some jobs as we figure out more efficient ways to be conducting businesses. Now, I've already made a video on future job trends, but I might make an update based on this whole Roni situation and what I've seen businesses like the ones I've worked in currently do to switch things up and make work from home totally viable, which it wasn't really before. But if you're looking to upskill, it's actually a great time at the moment to be looking at higher forms of education, with many universities, TAFE providers, and all of that type of stuff moving more towards online, which is really going to enhance the user experience of the online student, all of which you can do within the comfort of your own home with no interaction from anybody else on the outside that might be, on the Roni. Of course, that being said, there's a lot of free content online that you can access. You don't have to use a university or any formal institution to do that, especially when it comes to investing in finance. There's so much free content out there that you can look at and refer to other people's experiences and whatnot as well. There's a lot of teachings to be had, all of which is general info, of course, because none of this is personal advice, financial advice. Most of the people who post videos up are not financial advisors, so just general info, but you can get a lot from that. Throw $500 into the stock market, see how you go, see how you face with the ups and the downs during this rough period, because once your amount gets drastically bigger, your emotions and your stress levels heighten drastically. Now, I think it's important during this time to be looking at your current lifestyle and seeing where you can add value to a company, a business, or anybody in the near future, right? Because during this pandemic and afterwards, there will be a lot of innovations and change, and the world will move on with or without you. And you can either move with it or be one of those people who just sit back and complain about what once was. But anyways, guys, that's all from me today. Stock analysis will be coming up within the next couple of days, but I hope you guys stay safe. corona free, and I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.